Hey, hi there, everybody. It's Saturday, and normally on Saturdays on my website, I do a post called Thrift Store Finds. Ellen and I really like to go to garage sales, flea markets, used bookstores, and just find those diamonds in the rough, things that we think are cool, and we bring them back to the house and kind of polish them up a little bit. Usually, my thrift store finds are books, because I love books, and I will write a couple hundred words about some book that I found and why I think it's worth your time and consideration. I don't normally do videos. I don't like it when I go to a website thinking I'm about to read something and then I'm forced to watch a video. But every once in a while, I will have some finds that I don't think would make a very good written post. And today is one of those days. Because today, our local Catholic church had its annual Rummage sale. Now, this is an all-time classic Rummage sale. It's awesome. We always find cool stuff. Ellen finds lots of vintage cookbooks for her collection. I find lots of detritus from my childhood, which I enjoy collecting, and our kids like it because they always end up with, new toys by the end of the day. So that's what I'm going to show you guys today. Some of our finds from the local Catholic Church's Rummage sale. Now, keep in mind when I show you some of these things that we didn't spend more than $9, $10 on everything. And I'm not showing you everything. Ellen has some of her stuff. I'm just showing you some of the stuff I thought was particularly cool. All right, first up, these are just Halloween lights, decorative Halloween lights. You light them up, they're orange, they work. They were $1.50. I usually set up a decoration for Halloween every year with some of my monster toys and stuff like that. And I've always wanted some of these to kind of drape around them. So for $1.50, it was a good find. I like that we found this. The next thing I'm going to show you is going to seem very, very strange, and maybe even you might think it's a waste of money. Please keep in mind when I show it to you, it's a quarter. So I got this for a quarter. VHS cassette that you would buy in the stores to record something if you were going out or something like that. And I don't know if you can see on the label, but it says Seinfeld. So it's a VHS cassette with Seinfeld episodes. And the reason I picked this out of the box is if it's a VHS cassette recording of Seinfeld from the 1990s, I bet there are some awesome commercials on here. I don't have a VHS cassette player set up at home, but I do have one at work. So while I'm grading papers one late afternoon, I might pop this into the VCR and watch some old Seinfeld episodes. And that was a quarter. So. All right, so next I'll show you some of the toys that we found, and most of these will make their way into Elliot and Henry's hands, and a lot of times they are old toys, well-used toys, but this find was something that's really, really brand new. This is the from the Avengers Toy line that just started last summer. You can see the Avengers A on it. This is the Avengers Firestrike Assault Jet. I looked it up online, and it is sort of like the Quinjet from the Avengers comics. We have a pretty good collection of 3 3/4 action figures, Star Wars, and the like. And we actually have all the Avengers toys because Ellen bought them for me for Christmas, which was very nice of her. So this is going in that bin, and I assume that the boys are going to play with it. And it was $1.50. So I mean, you can't beat that. It's practically a brand new toy for $1.50. Very, very cool. This is 10 cents. So again. For me, this is not for the boys or anything, a yo-yo ball. Sort of the yo-yo ball for dummies. If you can't make a ball yo-yo come back to you, this thing would just spin it on back. I always liked these. I thought they were fun. I had a couple when I was a kid. 10 cents. So not too shabby for 10 cents. This is sort of the classic sort of Rummage sale find. This is the Bag O' Toys. They'll always have a bunch of Ziploc baggies full of toys, and 50 cents for these. Now, a lot of times they'll just be like premiums from fast food, McDonald's, Happy Meals. And I think there might be some of those in here, but I'm not sure. And there's always going to be ones you don't really care about. You got to, take that hit. So I don't know. So cute little kid waving, don't really care about. The fawn, this is cute little, like, Bambi. I don't really care about that, but I do think it's kind of cool. But then there were a bunch of toys in here where I just thought, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. Like this guy right here, little sheriff from some kind of Wild West set. You press his head, and he draws on you. So something I think the kids will enjoy. And then the last 3 toys in the bin were, of course, the reasons I bought it. So this is from the Galactic Heroes toy line. It's sort of a cute little tauntaun from Empire Strikes Back. And we have a couple of these, so this will probably just go to the toy box and maybe pair up with them. As will this Star Wars toy. I don't know who it is because I'm not really up on sort of the new Star Wars stuff. It looks like a guy dressed as a stormtrooper, but it's pretty well articulated, so toss it in with all the other ones. And then the last toy in the bin or the bag is the reason I got this. Henry has of late become obsessed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, both the new cartoon and the old ones. So I thought he might be interested in the Shredder. Yes, this is the Shredder from the original toy line. I have never liked this toy. Even as a kid, I had it because you had to have the Shredder if you had the Turtles. But I've always thought it was sort of a nightmare, especially without his coat or robe or cape or whatever it is he came with. He's weirdly hunched over. His back has these weird bumps all over it. You can tell this one is missing one of his gauntlets. It's a weird looking toy considering it's supposed to be like the main bad guy in the Ninja Turtle line. So this is the Shredder, and I'll give it to Henry and he'll probably really enjoy it. I'm sure he'll find a use for it. Okay, so next, a bunch of costume stuff. We've found lots of Halloween costumes, or just the kind of thing that we can put in their dress-up bins, our boys' dress-up bins. And so we did find a bunch of those things. The first one is your standard nerd Coke bottle glasses. Pretty good. 10 cents. And then these glasses, which again, classic glasses. Kind of mustache is a little off, but again, 10 cents. And then this next find is, I don't know if this will end up in the kids bin or if this is just another one of those like, oh, I'll indulge myself and get it. This is the razor claws from Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street. 50 cents for these. I think the only thing missing is it used to have something that would size it to your hand. I've always wanted these. I would never have dressed as Freddy Krueger for Halloween because I was too big of a puss, but I do think they're cool and definitely something I wouldn't mind having, you know, in our Halloween stuff. The only other costume thing we found is not a costume in the strictest sense, but Ellen found this. It's a pattern for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Red Ranger costume. I'm not a big Power Ranger fan, but again, kind of pop culture-y. It was $0.25, and Ellen's mom makes costumes, so this might be a cool thing to have. So yeah, those were, you know, we found some really cool costume stuff. Right on. So the last thing I'm going to show you is just some finds I thought were especially cool. And the first one is a jigsaw puzzle. This is Muppet Babies. It's a 60-piece jigsaw puzzle. 60 pieces is kind of the sweet spot for Henry right now. He can pretty much do a 60-piece jigsaw puzzle with a little bit of help. But Muppet Babies, I thought it was a cool find just because you don't hear about this show anymore, and it was a huge part of my childhood. It's not available on DVD because of some licensing rights. They always used film clips interspersed with the animation, so that's kind of impossible to do. And yeah, it's just sort of been left in a corner, and I've always really loved it. So 10 cents, Muppet Babies puzzle, sweet. And we'll just give it to Elliot and Henry, and they will use it with all their other puzzles. The next thing I'm going to show you guys, in the 1990s, Tiger Electronics made a whole bunch of these LCD handheld games, and this is one of them. Now, I always remember really wanting the licensed Tiger Electronics games, like I had a Batman one, and there were a couple of others I thought were cool. But every once in a while, they would just put out, like, you know, something where bowling, soccer, and this is Skeet Shoot. It's, again, 10 cents. It seems like it will work fine. I don't have any AA batteries right now, so I'm going to go out and get some this evening and see if I can make it work. But again, I've been looking for one of these for a while just to kind of check out. So Skeet Shoot, we'll see. All right, the last two things I'm going to show you guys are probably my best finds of the Rummage sale. Now, when I was growing up, I did not have a Game Boy, so in my adulthood, I've indulged myself a little bit. Whenever I'm at a garage sale or St. Vincent de Paul and I see Game Boy games that are relatively, you know, cheap, I will pick them up. And so this one was probably the cheapest one I've ever picked up. I got this for $0.25. This is the Game Boy cartridge of Paperboy. And I always liked Paperboy. I played it in arcades. I played it on my Nintendo, and I see no reason why this would not be a very good cartridge to have to use with my current Game Boy. And I got it for 25 cents. Normally when I'm in a used video game store, these things go for like $4 or $5 just on principle. So, good find, very good find. All right, but the last one is kind of the best find, and I give this to Ellen. Ellen is the one who really found this, and I saw it and knew what it was immediately, but she found it, okay? Now, one thing you need to know is that we're living near Cincinnati right now, and Cincinnati used to be the home office of the now-defunct Kenner Toys. Kenner made toys, you know, up through the 90s, but were most famous, I think, for their Star Wars toy line, which was gigantic. I mean, everybody had Star Wars figures. They're still all over the place today. And there's always stories that people who live in this area, you know, worked at Kenner and then, you know, lived in the burbs, which is kind of where I live now. So whenever we're going to garage sales and the like, I'm always on the lookout to see if there's any Kenner old toys out there. The market is kind of saturated right now to the point where everybody was looking for these toys about 10 years ago, so they've kind of gone the way of the dodo, but this is a cool find. This is, and again, I give props to Ellen for it. This is this is the large size Princess Leia toy. This was released with the Star Wars 12-inch line in 1978. There were 4 toys in that line. There was Luke, Vader, Chewie, and Princess Leia. Those first 3 guys were marketed to boys, but Leia was marketed to girls. She's a kind of a standard Barbie action figure or Barbie doll. She's got those click-in-place legs that no other action figure I ever owned had. And yeah, this is definitely not the dress that Leia wore in Star Wars. It's kind of psychedelic, but it is the original toy. You can see her buns are a little out of control, but they've done a relatively good likeness of Carrie Fisher, and it's cool that we found this sort of in the wild. It was $1, dress included, and I know this will be played with because Henry loves Star Wars and Elliot loves making dresses for dolls. So this is something that the kids will love and use all the time. So again, $1. I don't know how much it's actually worth, if anything, but I thought this was a cool find, especially given sort of the history of toys in Cincinnati. And that's it. That's thrift store finds for this week. I'll be back next week with a brand new thrift store find of something, probably a book. If you've watched this far, you're awesome. Thank you. I can't believe it. Wow, we made it. Excellent. Thanks.